Hey there. Yeah, you. You can come out now, I promise. Now it's your time to shine. The great and lovable Peridot. So hey, why don't you come with me so we can watch the sun come up and figure out this whole fusion thing together, huh? Now, who in this Gem-forsaken series are you going to fuse with first? I really hope it's my Gemsona like in my Steven Universe fanfiction. Welcome back to another episode of One True Theory, where today we will be discussing one of the most important moments in a certain character's life, and for your benefit, not my super edgy Steven Universe fanfiction. It will be your time soon, Party Godite. Not today, but sometime soon it will be your time. Today we are going to talk about someone else, Peridot from Steven Universe. Ah yes, the great and lovable Peridot. Antagonist turned Scooby-Doo villain, turned reluctant ally, turned full-blown crystal gem and friend. Out of all the characters in Steven Universe, Peridot is probably the character who has undergone the second most character development, the first being Steven as he grows with each and every episode, but Peridot has come a long way, especially when you consider how many handicaps she had going against her, such as casual racism.
Did you teach her to talk like this?
What are you talking about?
She's a pearl. She's a made-to-order servant, just like the hundreds of other pearls being flaunted around back on Homeworld.
And her planet's cruel authoritarian level society, which has an almost fanatical brainwashed control over its subjects.
They're objectively better than us. Every gem has their strengths and weaknesses, but not them. They're absolutely, totally, completely flawless beings.
Now, she may not be able to shapeshift, she may not be able to summon a weapon, she may not have a lot past her increased capacity for friendship and a top-notch brain, but one gem ability she can undoubtedly do with little to no practice is fusion. Fusion, for those of you unfamiliar, is the amalgamation of two gems' forms into a wholly new and original being. And fusion, on a more metaphysical level, is a symbol of relationships. Some relationships are meant to be and work out really well and are just good, while some are much better off not happening. However, as long as a fusion is built on a relationship of trust and understanding, then the fusion is most often the tops, and most fusion can be stabilized by simply having these key components. Now, people have been wanting Peridot to fuse since, well... Not even kidding, people jumped the gun super quickly. We didn't even know she was going to be joining the Crystal Gems at this point, and at this point in time, it didn't seem like she would ever. But at the end of the day, I guess they were right. Since her initial appearance in Warp Tour, Peridot's been winning her way into the fanbase's hearts, but the real question lies, who will be Peridot's first fusion? Well, only one of you can be first. Okay, I'm sorry. Wrong choice of words. Only one of you will be first, and fortunately, we have just the way of figuring out who will be first. Garnet gave us a nifty little listing during the episode We Need to Talk.
First, you need the gem at the core of your being.
Alright, so you need a gem at the core of your being. Does Peridot have that? Sweet, okay, so what is next?
Then you need a body that could turn into light.
The body which can turn into light. Does Peridot have one of those? Alright. Awesome. That's 2 for 2. I'm starting to wonder why Peridot hasn't fused with anyone sooner.
Then you need a partner who you trust with that light.
Metaphorically?
Literally.
Well, that's complicated. So Peridot needs someone she can trust with that light. But just who out of our cast can that be? I guess we'll just have to sort through them individually. Oh well. I've got some time to kill. So the way we will access who Peridot will fuse with first, we will assess Peridot's relationship with each of the individual gems on hand and formulate the likelihood of this circumstance occurring. Let me just go through the super special process of choosing a gem to start with. Alright, Garnet, let's break it down. Garnet's and Peridot's relationship is a story of ups and downs, and by that I mean one long continuous down until their super special bonding episode where they... almost fused. In this episode, their relationship took a massive upturn into something of a real friendship, honestly. Now, a while back, a fan tried to trick everyone with a fake credits scene where a supposed fusion Jade was voiced by Peridot and Garnet's VAs. Although Party God Douglas is not afraid to speculate, he does not dabble in myth. So naturally, we will not be considering this at all. So where does Garnet stand? Peridot and Garnet actually have a very good relationship with each other, and given Garnet was willing to fuse with Peridot here, I would say she trusts Peridot and Peridot trusts her, so they do meet the third category. But even with all of the basic components, Peridot's first fusion will not be Garnet. The reason for this is solely based on the fact that Peridot and Garnet already tried to fuse once before, but Peridot did not take kindly to this as her anxiety started building up about the whole idea of fusion. She will always see it as this bigger than her concept, and the only way to break that is with A, an accidental fusion, or B, giving her the decision to initiate the fusion. Basically, she needs to offer to someone else that they should fuse. With all of this in mind, we are able to quickly remove one other candidate from the listing, Pearl. The reasoning around Garnet is very similar to the reasoning revolving around Pearl. They meet the three necessary characteristics, but when it comes to actually going in with the intent to fuse, Peridot is not going to have much of a reason to try to initiate a fusion with Pearl. Pearl will most likely be the one trying to initiate the fusion, and that's going to set Peridot's anxieties through the roof. It isn't because she doesn't trust Garnet or Pearl, but the only reason she would feasibly be fusing with these two would be an intention to fuse with Garnet or with Pearl, taking the initiative with Peridot as the nervous position to follow up. This brings us to our last three contestants, Steven, Lapis, and Amethyst. We'll hit Steven first. I'm not sure I'm ready to tackle that Lapidot and Amidot nonsense quite yet. Now, Steven ranks number 1 on Peridot's Trustometer. To put it more scientifically, Steven has the highest propinquity level with Peridot. Propinquity, in its simplest terms, is being a measure of closeness. Thank you, MatPat. However, Steven's ability to fuse with gems seems to be something different than how other gems function. Or it could be that he just hasn't been able to synchronize his body with the gems yet, since the only time they've tried was in Alone Together, and, well, Peridot, however, is the perfect height for synchronizing dances, so why not Peridot? Well, this is a combination of things. Steven's half-human biology does offer some challenges for fusing in general. The only way he's able to do it so easily with Connie is because he has unsubtle feelings towards her and she reciprocates. That's the emotional reason. I have a much more scientific reason in a future theory video, but onward and forward. And once again, Perry's anxieties about fusing. Steven did fuse, but did so accidentally with someone he not only likes, but someone he likes, which is fuel for the fusion fire. It's why Garnet is able to stay together so long, so Steven can't just simply fuse with someone like Peridot, who, although he loves more than anything, just not in that way. So no Steven. Not yet, at least. Now we get to Lapis and Amethyst. Lapidot versus Amidot. Oh boy. We have Lapis, who has just come out of an angry, vengeful fusion and is only at the tolerate level with Peridot, and then Amethyst, who is Peridot's number 2 favorite person. Peridot and Amethyst trust each other and have an unbelievably high propinquity level with each other. Peridot trusts Lapis, and Lapis is a little less than neutral, and their propinquity level leaves a lot to be desired. With all of this in mind, I think it is safe to say who Peridot's first fusion will be. Do you hear it? Because I do. That's right. It's Lapis Lazuli. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I promise there's a method to my madness. Just hold your bullets, please. You can cock it, you can point it at me, but you just gotta listen. While we see Amethyst and Peridot have a much stronger relationship as it stands currently, and as we see do have a reasonability to fuse even in spite of Peridot's anxieties, what would this fusion mean? It would mean a new fusion, and that would be awesome. It would mean to see them mashed up. Trust me, it took me forever to determine which one would take the top spot, and although I can't deny the importance of an Amidot relationship, whether it stays platonic and awesome or becomes romantic and awesome, super cool and super hype, but what if I told you a Lapis first fusion would be more thematically appropriate with the show's generalized theme? Themes like friendship, like trust, pacifism, and most prominently nowadays, redemption and forgiveness. Lapis is not a fan of Peridot. No one denies this, and it is understandable. She shares the lowest propinquity with Peridot, however there is a potential for this to improve exponentially. Lapis and Peridot are currently living at the barn by themselves, mostly with little visits to the others, or from the others. We see this with Peridot in Too Short to Ride and Lapis in an unnamed episode in the promo. So they will spend an unbelievable amount of time together. This in and of itself will significantly raise their propinquity level, and up through this process, Lapis will also learn who Peridot really is, or what she is, and that she is essentially harmless. Just because we haven't seen these two interact since Hit the Diamond does not mean that these two have not been interacting and associating with each other. If you pay close attention to Peridot's Twitter account, you can clearly see that they are growing some measure of closeness, as evidenced when they're stargazing together at the end of Beach City Drift, and after Alone at Sea when Peridot goes to comfort Lapis after she's clearly seen she's had a rough time. It will be then that they start bonding on a deeper level, and Peridot will then initiate the idea of fusing, which shows her growth as a character, but most importantly, ties it in a very nice bow with the themes of the show, all while also going against a common connection of the show. First fusions are almost always accidental, in a feasible and touching way which the show has yet to do. I will go on the record to say, however, it is not impossible to go through a similar emotional impact with an Amidot first fusion, but a Lapidot first fusion just comes barely ahead in the race thanks to pure coincidence. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Who Will Peridot's First Fusion Be? With me, Peridot Douglas. Apologies for a little bit heavier breathing or some sniffling. I'm kind of doing this impromptu because I just wanted to add on a little more to this theory for anyone, A, who was coming back to watch it again after watching it the first time on my previous channel, and B, since there's been at least a year and a half worth of content that's come out since that theory was. Now, the short answer to has my reasoning changed? Have I decided that it's going to be somebody different? No, but I promise that's not just like me sticking to my character biases. Looking over the last year and a half of content, I believe the stage is being set because Garnet and Pearl, obviously they're not going to be it. I mean, why give it to them? There's no greater purpose to do that. Steven, being the main character, of course could take that honor. He's taken many honors before, but I just think Steven has much more pertinent, bigger scale things to do than to be Peridot's first fusion from a thematic storytelling standpoint. And there are still two characters who have a much higher chance and who have much more reason to be that first person. One of them being Amethyst, whose chances have skyrocketed, especially after raising the barn with Lapis seemingly being gone forever, but as we all know and as we all have to accept that she's coming back at some point, but I just don't believe that'll be for probably the rest of this season. So that gives Amethyst a lot of chance to bond in the same way Lapis and Peridot bonded over the past couple of seasons. And maybe they'll fuse. Which would be awesome, because I mean, it'd get rid of Peridot's nerves about it, and then she'd be able to guide Lapis through it. However, there's a distinct thematic element to fusion, and that's communication. Communication is the most key element to fusion, and that is the biggest lapse in Lapis and Peridot's relationship up to this point, is communication. So, I believe the stage has been set for Lapis to return over the course of a few episodes, not the couple episodes immediately after she gets back, for them to communicate and settle their issues, put it all out there, and truly become as close as they appeared to be up till this point. Honestly, in a resolution, what's a more beautiful scene than two people getting on the same level and still loving the other person for who they are? And thus, in this case, fusing. I don't think a more beautiful story can be told. Story can be told. And I think that's honestly what's going to happen. So yeah, Lapis and Peridot, well, Lapis is still going to be Peridot's first fusion. Thank you for joining me. If you heard this theory before, thank you for joining me again. If you haven't, I hope you found some sort of satisfaction. Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, this has been Party God Douglas, and remember, every video is a party, and you're all invited to the next one. Thank you, and good night.